Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's Friday. You know what that means?
Front Office Friday, Pumpkin Edition.
What? No way.
Look at that. We have a Front Office Friday Pumpkin.
The Front Office Friday Pumpkin. That's amazing. The NBA Front Office logo on a pumpkin. I was not expecting. I did not know what was coming here. That's incredible.
Yeah,
that
my
is
wife
amazing.
made that. So I'm really happy. I am not going to hold it the entire show, so I'm going to go off camera so I can turn my lights on and get everything ready, and I'll be right back. But I wanted to share
is so
Friday Pumpkin,
cool.
And we'll get some pictures and I'll put them up on social media.
Put those up on social media, and we're going to have to put that up maybe as our header or something on the YouTube channel for the remainder of the month. That's awesome.
No doubt.
So cool.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, Keith returns. Oh, my goodness. So Keith told me, just to peel back the curtain here a little bit, Keith texted me. He said, hey, I have a surprise for the beginning of the show, so my camera is going to be off when I first start. So I had no idea. I had no idea what was going to be coming or that it was going to. I thought, did Keith get like a bonus Halloween costume that he's going to be in? What's going to be happening here? I was not expecting that. That was so cool. Speaking of cool, we had a crazy night in the NBA last night. 4 games. We'll talk a little bit about those. We'll, of course, get into all the latest news around the league. But first, welcome in, everybody. All of you guys who are joining, make sure if you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel just yet, that you do subscribe. Keith and I are going to dress up in our Halloween costumes on Halloween if we can hit 35,000 subscribers. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. Big night tonight. We've got the Dodgers taking on Keith's Yankees. So I'm excited for that one. And then, of course, we have more NBA basketball going on as well. Keith, I've got my Dodger hat on. I see you've got your Yankees shirt on.
We're go.
Ready. We're ready for baseball tonight. We're also ready for even more basketball. It was a fun night of basketball in the NBA last night.
Yeah, it really was. It was for a light night, you get a little nervous because if a couple games turn into blowouts, it's like this whole night was lost. But yeah, but there were some fun games, especially the later 2 games were really good. That I know it wasn't the biggest game of the night, but that Kings Wolves game was really good all the way down the stretch. Took right until the final possession to be decided. Yeah, so it was a good night, man. It's season's off to a great start. I'm super pumped. We're here. We got all of our stuff going on, and we're full on in it now.
That's right. That's right. Let's go. So this is BC. Don't Boston fans hate the Yankees? We've talked about this a bunch, but yes, Keith is a Celtics and Yankees
rare
fan.
Bird.
Yes. Yep. It's the rare combination.
I had to laugh at this one because this popped up. This isn't as great as the second apron bit, but very well done with the pumpkin. You know how sometimes YouTube just randomly shows you like a video that's old?
Yeah.
Like in your thing, that one popped up the other day. So I watched like the first couple minutes of it.
That's cool.
Funny.
That's cool. So, Keith's family have mad craving skills, as I'm assuming be carving skills. Yeah. But yes, every year some incredible stuff. Incredible.
Yeah,
stuff
that's my wife and my wife and daughter. That is not me. I have no skill with that at all. I don't have the patience for it.
No, I don't either. Keith, we take beyond easy way out, we buy the stick-on faces.
Oh, there you go.
And we use those to not carve. I just don't enjoy the whole process of carving the pumpkin and stuff like that. So if I can get like a goofy Dracula face and just stick it on my pumpkin, I'm good with that. So that's what I've done this year. But that's also why I don't come up with cool stuff like the NBA front office show pumpkin.
Whatever you enjoy, right? Is that's however you enjoy it, right? Like it's
right.
Good stuff. Here, somebody said, same guy. Is there any team Trev and Keith both like? U.S. men's and women's soccer teams?
Yeah, Team USA basketball. Yeah.
So we come together on the national level. It's just at the local level. That's where we divide.
And that's okay. It keeps the show spicy. That's the way. Yeah. That's the way I like it. This is me. This is me. Pumpkin pie better than pumpkin carving. Oh, I love pumpkin pie. And the problem is, Keith, I'm the only one in my family that likes pumpkin pie. So it's like I have to, if I'm gonna get a pumpkin pie, I have to commit to that pumpkin because nobody else is going to help me with it.
I'm the only one in my family who likes apple pie too. Like
Really?
apple pie either. Yeah. I like warm apple pie with ice cream. Like, let's go. That's like one of my favorite things. Like apple crumble, I think is what I actually like best. But yeah, now we're getting
now
we'll
it's the
save that
fact
for
that
the Thanksgiving
getting
show.
closer to lunchtime and all
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Keith,
good point by JJ Castillo here. Both the Lakers and Dodgers have put out alerts that it's going to be LA traffic is always crazy. It's just going to be crazier tonight.
Good luck.
As well. What time is the Lakers at? 10 or 10:30?
That's at 10 Eastern.
10 Eastern, yeah. So 7 local. Yeah. 5 local is the baseball game. So maybe that 2 hours will be a little different. But yeah, it's that is it is going to be a crazy day in LA for sure. And the Rams played yesterday, I think,
They
at
did.
home, and they had a big upset win, right?
Yeah, beat the Vikings. Was impressive. Except maybe a little bit ruined at the end by an obvious missed face mask call.
I saw
not
that.
Not that the Vikings were going to win. Anyway, I mean, who knows what would have happened, but that should have been a penalty. I think we can all agree. Let's start off with the negative here. What's with all the injuries, especially DeJounte Murray, James Wiseman? So James Wiseman, we talked about on the show a little bit yesterday that when he stepped back, you see a guy step backwards and then turn around and look at the back of their leg like they feel like they got kicked. That's exactly what Wiseman did. It's usually a telltale sign of an Achilles, and that's exactly what it is for James Wiseman. Torn Achilles. His season is over. That's going to be rough to recover from. Then DeJounte Murray is 4 to 6 weeks now with that broken hand. So, I mean, here we go. We're just a few days into the season and already some pretty major injuries.
And I think that Pelicans gave an update that it's still at least a couple more weeks on Trey Murphy.
Yeah.
Too. So they're down to 2 of those 6 guys we talked about that it should all start. And they don't have room for all of them to start anyway. And none of them are center and all that stuff. Well, the basketball gods are like, okay, we'll take care of that for you in the worst way possible. But the good news for the Pelicans is those guys will be back. For James Wiseman, he was playing well too. He really looked energetic. He looked bouncy. Playing with Halliburton and all those other good Pacers was really going to, I think, lift him quite a bit. And just, this stinks. Like, this is just the worst that, we're at this spot now where now he's out for the year. I also had this with, this is the unfortunate part of this. He's only on a partially guaranteed contract. It'll likely go to fully guaranteed with the injury.
Yeah.
But the Pacers may just waive him because they already have 1 open roster spot. So now you're playing with effectively 2 open roster spots because he can't play. So you can't sit there too long. Now, this isn't the same as the Knicks because it's not truly open. Like, he is filling a roster spot. They don't have to fill anything, but we'll see if they go a little bit more, feel a little more pressure, I guess, to fill that spot. Cause you're like, then you get to be like 1 or 2 more injuries away from. Now, all of a sudden, you're starting games with only like 10, 11 guys available. And that's just not where you want to be.
Let's jump to this. And so that means we'll keep an eye on the Pacers to maybe pick up somebody on the market here, and we'll see what they do with that spot. But Jeremy said, Pistons offense looks like a real offense. Hey, how about that? I really believe Monty Williams didn't want to be there and just took the money. His lineups were nonsense. I mean, the Pistons, I'm not expecting the Pistons to win a bunch of games or anything like that, but I think they can be a scrappy team on any given night. And the Monty Williams thing, I mean, he took you with what the highest.
Just take the money. they kept offering him more until he couldn't say no.
Right. I mean, that's just it. Like, the Pistons were determined to get him, and so they went to crazy lengths to do it. And he said, "All right, fine." Even though I'm telling you guys, like, I don't really want to, but okay, hey, if you're going to pay me this much, I'll do it. And I don't blame you. You see, I think he's coaching like his son's school team,
high school
now.
team.
Yeah.
It was who? Did you see who he's replacing?
No, I didn't.
Bruce Bowen was the coach prior, and Bruce Bowen's and Tim Duncan's sons are on the team too.
So, that's awesome.
Yeah, apparently it's the junior Spurs or something. I don't know. That's crazy, but
does he give up his money now that he's moved on to a new contract? I'm sure that's part of the reason why he's like, I'll coach a high school team, because he's still getting paid on his Pistons contract.
Yeah, exactly. I'll also say with the Pistons, to go back to Jeremy's comment, I tweeted like 3 minutes into the game that they looked more organized than they did for most of last season, Like he was, really like the Pistons, they just looked good. Like they looked like a functional team that was playing well. So I'm encouraged. It was a loss, and they've got a lot of figuring out to do at their end game, especially in close clutch situations. But they're gonna get there. They'll figure it out. It was a good start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, let's go here. Oh, Seeker Man said Nuggets to trade for Zach LaVine. I mean, how do you get get there? Salary wise might be kind of tough. Like you're gonna have to give up somebody that you probably don't want to give up.
And they're already they're hard capped at the second apron.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already over the first apron, so they can't take any more in than they would send out. So yeah, I mean, your Michael Porter Jr. at a minimum would have to be in that trade. I don't.
Is that something you really want to do?
I honestly don't hate it, but it just makes them a different team. Like them what they are. They'd be smaller. That part makes you a little worried about that, but I don't hate the idea of something built around Michael Porter Jr. for Zach LaVine. Like I don't hate that idea.
Well, but all right. So here's the issue with that is that Michael Malone talked last night about how he was lamenting the fact that shooting is a problem for them. I don't think you improve your shooting by getting rid of your best shooter. You need to find a way to add shooting to your best shooter in Michael Porter Jr. if you're going to improve that. And that's why I don't know that Zach LaVine, I think you need a lower priced shooter that you're going to go target so that it's not MPJ going out, because you need to improve your net shooting. And I don't know that you do that by turning Porter Jr. into Zach LaVine.
Yeah, if anything, that's an even swap, right? If they're different shooters too. LaVine is much more of an on-ball guy, where Porter has mastered the spot-up game and playing off Jokic and off Murray. So, yeah, I don't know. Like that's just it's. I don't want to overreact. It's one game, right? Yeah. One game against one of the best teams in the league, one of the teams that's really equipped to defend the Nuggets too, because they have all that perimeter defense in Oklahoma City. So they really were able to pressure them, put them in difficult spots. So I think, how about let's flip that though? The Thunder looked good.
They were so good.
Really good.
And they weren't even that sharp in this, and they still cruised past Denver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's somebody put in here. Christian Karen, Keith, you and me should hang out with Chet Holmgren. The three of us should get lunch sometime. I mean, if you have his number, sure, but Trevor gets to come too. Well, I'll meet in Oklahoma City.
Can I go?
Right in the middle of the country.
Yeah, we'll go.
We'll head over there and grab a lunch.
Hang on. Keith, did you hear on the broadcast last night? They said Chet Holmgren feels so much stronger and like he's put on weight. And I look at him, I go, he's put on weight? Like,
yeah.
Like they said,
I'd like to put that weight on.
Get this. They said, Chet, to put on weight, he's been eating 3.5 meals a day.
Whoa.
Whoa. Okay, we're getting big time here. 3.5 meals. Like that guy needs to eat like 6 meals a day or something. They need to put him on the Chris Hemsworth Thor diet or something like that. But he was fantastic. Aside from shooting threes, I thought he played Jokic to essentially a standstill. He was just as impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does that, that's it. The Nuggets aren't going to beat the Thunder if Chet is playing that well against Jokic, because the rest of the Thunder team is better than the rest of the Nuggets.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think it got forgotten a little bit too. Chet was a rookie last year. I know he was in the league that first year, but didn't play. So last year was his first playing experience in the NBA. And there were times when you could see just more comfortable, right? Just like a second year guy, more comfortable, just more ready to go and to do things on the floor. So yeah, I thought their ability to play with extreme 5-out spacing and Holmgren's ability to put the ball on the floor is huge, because you're going to, against most centers, you're going to have to send help just to keep him from getting to where he wants to be. And he's a good enough passer, and then they're collectively good enough passing as a team that will open up other stuff there. And then, they showed extra bodies to Jokic repeatedly, but from the right places. Like they were not afraid of, this is not a knock on Christian Brown at all, but they were like, all right, hey, if we go down because he hits 5 3-pointers, so be it. That's what we're going to help off him. We're going to help off anybody else who came on the floor, whether it was Watson or Strother or anybody else. So that's kind of to round back to the main thing. They've got to add some shooting. Like they've got to add shooting. Like our guy who said the LaVine for MPJ, now saying Ingram for MPJ in the chat. Again, I don't know that fixes what you're trying to fix. Like, you've got to find shooting in another way with that. So
Yeah. All right, jumping over to this game, the Kings with 35 free throws attempted, but 33 point attempts. Status quo with DeRozan.
might be.
I mean, the Wolves do have a pretty good perimeter defense in terms of chasing guys off of the 3-point line, so I think we have to give them some credit as well. But yeah, I mean, this is what DeRozan kind of helps with Sacramento. They were the worst free throw shooting team in the NBA last season. DeRozan got there 14 times last night and hit 12 of them. He's a high volume and high percentage free throw shooter, so I think that does help the Kings overall. But yeah, I mean, the 3-point volume, I would expect it's going to go up from here. I think we have to give some credit to the Wolves defense and the Kings. I think they're going to settle more into the mid to high 30s in terms of 3-point attempts.
Yeah, I think the Kings, you could see they've got stuff to figure out. There are a lot of times when De'Aaron Fox would come up, initiate the offense, and then he was just, that was it. We didn't see him again. In the play. Like, and that's just so different where everything keyed off of the Fox Sabonis 2-man game. It was good to see Keegan Murray get a pretty healthy shot share. I think he had 17 field goal attempts in that game. So they're clearly trying to make sure he gets it. But Sabonis and Fox just weren't quite as involved as they had been, in the past. They were still involved, don't get me wrong, but it's just a little bit different. So, and it's probably going to take, my guess is somewhere around 15, 20 games for them to really find that balance. And a big key for Mike Brown will be staggering. It's going to be staggering, guys. And that's what the benefit of having multiple shot creators gets you is you will obviously open and close with them, but then you can go to those guys throughout the course of the game. You can really stagger their minutes, and that's huge. I think that's a pretty big thing for the Kings. They lost, but I don't feel any less about them. Minnesota's a good team. Minnesota coming off a loss opening night to the Lakers. Clearly, you don't want to start 0-2, so they kind of threw a lot at it.
And similar to the way you were describing things with the Nuggets, where you said the Thunder looked at it as, hey, if Christian Brown hits 5 threes and we lose, so be it. We're going to gamble on that. Julius Randle went 5 of 6 from 3.
Yeah,
and he's a guy where same thing. Like, hey, if Randle hits 5 threes, you tip your cap to him. But most nights we know he's not going to do that, and it's going to be a winning proposition to let him take those shots. He shot 5 of 6 from 3, and the Wolves won, and there you go. And I think the Kings would probably play it the same way again unless Randle suddenly proves that he's like a 38% 3-point shooter, which he has not been over the course of his career. He had one good 3-point shooting season, but I think that the Kings will just say, tip your cap, we'll move on to the next one, and I still think they're going to be good. Yeah,
completely agree. I think too, next time they play, I wonder if they switch it up a little bit and put Sabonis on Randle more. Not that Sabonis is like going to shut him down, but Sabonis just has the bulk because Randle just did the Randle thing where he just bulldozed through Murray and DeRozan and Trey Lyles on a handful of plays. So that was pretty tough. So then I think maybe you put Sabonis there and you just live with, all right, if they're going to throw it into Gobert for a bunch of attempts at post-ups and dunks, great. We'll live with that. Like, put Murray or DeRozan on Gobert and live with the outcome there. The place where that can backfire is you got to make sure you get on the boards. Like, you got to make sure somebody gets their body on them. Otherwise, they're going to feast on the offensive glass. But that could be a little wrinkle, when they come around, next time around that these two teams play.
Controversial man said Michael Porter Jr., Bogey Hunter, Zeke Brown. Grant will sign Lonnie.
He's saying 2 trades, but I don't know why the Hawks would do that. I don't think the Hawks would do that first one. Right. They just signed Jalen Johnson to the big extension, and they've got Risa Shea. That's not the direction they want to go. Zeke Naji and Christian Brown for Grant Williams. That's okay, I guess. I wouldn't personally hate that for either team. Like, that's fine. Charlotte's rebuilding and figuring out, and then sign Lonnie Walker. Yeah, that we might see Lonnie Walker get a deal before, I'm not going to say the end of the month's maybe a little early, but like before we get to very far into the G League season, which starts on like November 7th.
Yeah.
Because he's good scorer, and I think we're seeing a handful of these teams need a little scoring punch off their bench.
And injuries are hitting already too. So
yeah,
that's certainly
absolutely.
part of it. Mamadou, so why do the Nuggets go hard when playing the Lakers, but they play everyone else normal? You know what? They didn't even play that well against the Lakers in the playoffs last year. They just hit shots late. They'd hit shots in timely moments, but they did not play that well. And so it wasn't necessarily a surprise to see them bounce in the second round. But they do tend to hit some big shots, and they get everybody hitting shots when they've played the Lakers in the past. I think part of that is the Lakers' defensive schemes would scheme guys open, and then guys were like, you know what? Guess what? When I'm wide open, I'm not a 32% three-point shooter. But yes, I know there's frustration from Lakers fans when you see the Nuggets play poorly against other teams, and you know they always go nuts against the Lakers.
I mean, and let's be realistic too. A year before that, they played well against everybody and won the title. So they're a good team, right? Like that's the reality too. And I think, we talked about this at the time, not as extreme as the year before in the West Finals, when very clearly the Lakers they'd run out of gas after playing 100 miles per hour for 4 months of the season because they had dug such a deep hole to start the year. I think they just wore down again in that series. I think you didn't have a ton of depth, and you were relying on two older players. And the Nuggets, they had a little bit more depth, and they're good. So kind of not a whole lot you can do with that.
How do you deal with disagreements in sports discourse? Reasonably.
Yeah.
That's
civil.
I guess here's the thing is that I see a lot of people who they disagree with what somebody says, but rather than presenting their own counter argument, and we've talked about that in the past, they just immediately devolve into like mocking or trying to insult the other person or something like that. I think in general, disagreements in sports are fine. Like you can have that and it can lead to some interesting conversations. It's when it just turns into a shouting match and finger pointing that it just devolves into something that is worthless. It's the same thing with politics in this country. People think that if somebody disagrees with them politically, that person is just an idiot and wrong and has no concept of the truth and all these sorts of things. So it's something where we have to be okay with people disagreeing with us and not immediately think less of that person and just accept that sometimes people have different opinions, and that's okay. And that's part of what makes sports discourse stronger is when people do have different opinions, but you have to be able to express those opinions and explain why you think the way you do without going to the lowest possible means of communication.
Yeah, keep it civil, especially with sports stuff. Like there's no reason to instantly people go to, well, you're an idiot because.
Yeah.
All right. Like that doesn't, if anybody wants to point to like, you can disagree and get along. Like this shows an example of it. Like
exactly.
We have very different fandoms. We approach it from different places, and we do agree a lot, but we don't always agree. And when we don't, we just hash it out, discuss, and sometimes we walk away saying, I still don't agree, but that's okay. You're not always going to get to consensus. I think the other thing is, what upsets me most is you're a moron, like, because I disagree with you. The second most thing,
and usually it's the wrong "your" that they use.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that definitely. Yeah. The other thing that I completely disagree with and hate is when we both get this all the time. You don't watch my team, blah, blah, blah. One, don't disrespect the work we put in. Like that part really bothers me. And then this one is more of a like not just sports, but it's like everything. Starting an argument from a place where you're using things that are wrong. Like that part kills me when it's, whether it's sports or it's, more real life is, you're starting with a premise of this is bad because, and the thing you're saying that's bad isn't even a thing that's happening. And that's where, for me, it's like, what are we doing here? Like that's, then, and I need to be better about just moving along about my day. Right. And then, I like a fight more than anybody does. And I love an argument, but what I really like is I like a good argument where it's like, hey, hit me with facts and numbers and stuff. And the other thing too is the last part, way too many people are way too many people are very reluctant to say I was wrong. Like
Yeah.
that's the problem. And like it's so funny. I don't mean this the way it sounds. I like being wrong because it means like I learned something new. Like if I was wrong on a player or a team
Hmm.
or whatever it is, I'm okay with that because that means I learned something different. I learned something new, and I'm all right with that. And don't get me wrong, I like being right too, but I don't mind being proven wrong on something, because it was an opportunity to learn and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. There was I mean, I look at, I was thinking about, just general narratives the other day and about Sacramento. There was one other team too. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, but another team that's known as a bad defensive team. And then when you dig into their advanced metrics, they're actually not bad. And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
well, why is that? Why has my thought always been that this is a really bad defensive team? Where are they finding success? And you realize that just the common perception out there is not correct. That's always, I think that's exciting to see, because then that lets us kind of dig into something and find out, well, why is that the case? So I think there's a lot to what you're saying there, that being wrong sometimes can be a good thing because it
Yeah.
opens you up to a lot of different things that maybe you just weren't considering. You get so closed off into this is the answer, this is what it is, then you go, oh wait, maybe that's not correct, and you take a second look at things.
One of the biggest things for me learning how to use data when it comes to the NBA
Yeah.
was this idea that the 7 seconds or less Suns were a bad defensive team because it's funny.
It was the Suns. I was having a conversation last night with a Suns reporter for Lakers Nation, and he was mentioning the Suns defense last year, and I went, "Whoa! I didn't realize that they were actually ranked as high as they
Yeah.
were." Anyway,
The Kings are a good example too. I got that completely wrong. I thought they were like a bottom half defense, and
yeah,
Kings fans are like, "Whoa, hold on, check," and they're like, "Because we really improved." And then I was like, "Oh wow!" But anyway, when you get there, for me, with that 7 seconds or less Suns team, that was where, like, for me, it started to be like, all right, there's more to look at than just points per game on the team level.
right,
Like they allow a lot of points, and if you just look at points per game, but they're playing such a fast paced style that but when that's when it really kind of hammered home for me the idea of offensive and defensive ratings and why those are actually far more better measures of a team's ability to defend or not than just the standard stats here. I was just it wouldn't be 100.
Picking the Clippers every
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
but you know what?
Not
Like
this
on
year.
paper, the
Not this
Clippers
year.
were really
No.
good every year, and you
Yeah.
keep thinking, okay, this is going to be the year, and then it just never happened.
Yeah. It like I'm now like I'm with you on it. Like forget that team, man. I don't like them anymore. I'm mad. Still mad.
You're the Bucks are my Clippers East in terms of the team where I'm like, I've been burned too many times. I'm not going back. If they surprise me, they surprise me, but I'm not trusting them anymore.
I flipped it to the to the Suns this year. That's the team that I believe in more than I probably should.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's see. They're an exciting team. We'll see. Um, oh, thoughts on Lakers fan? I mean, this can be any fans who send threats and
yeah.
boo their guys. Yeah, I mean,
No.
don't do that. Like that's
I mean, if you want to boo a bad game,
boo,
fine. I don't
sure,
like it's fine. Boo a bad performance.
but threats, that's different.
Yeah, things that are off limits to me. You're off limits with families. You never go after a player's
Hmm.
family. That's 100% out of bounds. And if you get kicked out for yelling at a family member, you 100% deserve it. And then it's like, don't yell at a player about their bad game because of your lost bet.
Yeah,
Like that's where like people have, and we've both seen it up close, like in person in these arenas where people go absolutely insane. There was a really good article on The Athletic about a guy who he was doing sports wagering, and he said he was about to fire off a bunch of messages to I forget who it was. It was somebody I want to say on the Pacers. It was Buddy Hield when he was with the Pacers
hmm,
because Buddy Hield caused him to lose a bet. He's like, I looked up his Instagram, I looked up all this stuff,
man.
and that's when I realized I have a problem. Like, this guy doesn't even know who I am, and I'm about to threaten him because I lost a bet. Like
Right.
that's where it's all gotten way too sideways. We talked about it with the JB Bickerstaff stuff last year, where like people were threatening his kids at school. Like, come on, that's not. Yeah, one, that's on you. That's your problem. Just in a game, if a team is out there and they're not showing, effort, which happens in basketball 5, 6 times a year, there's just games where they're just not going to show up and kind of becomes a collective team wide thing. Yeah, boo them. Like I don't have any issue with that. You paid, so you just keep it to boos. Don't you don't have to take it further. Just be, let them know you're not happy with the effort and then move on.
Yeah, it should not become like this personal thing, and especially like don't tag players. Don't
Yeah,
tag play
that's
when you're mad and you're saying, "Oh, this player, I'm mad this player missed a shot." Don't tag the player in it. Like if you
yeah.
want to say, "Hey, I'm mad that LeBron missed this 3-pointer or whatever." Cool. What you express your opinion, but don't tag the player and make the guys see all that kind of stuff and everything. Like they don't
Don't
need
snitch
all
tag
that.
either when
Oh yeah.
somebody says something you don't like. So then you're like, look at, hey, KD. People love it with Kevin Durant because he's very online and will
Yeah.
respond. And people are like, hey, KD, look at what this idiot said about you. And it's like, why? Why are you snitch tagging? Like, come on, we're all
Right.
grown ups. Like, let's grow up here.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I want to go to a couple other things because there's a couple other updates too that I want to make sure we don't miss. Brandon Miller's out a week.
Mm-hmm.
At least a week with a left glute strain. So not the end of the world, right? Hopefully that's all it is. We go. Clippers granted PJ Tucker the ability to find a trade. And then did you see the teams? I think it was Chris Haynes said have reached out.
Yeah.
It's like all his former teams.
Right.
So,
but it's like the Bucks. I had Bucks people that were on my timeline that were like, yeah, like we can't. What was the Bucks' involvement to say sorry? We can't trade for you. Like we don't have the salaries to trade. So
and I'm guessing a lot of teams are just like, no, we'll just wait for him to get bought out. Like we'll just wait for you to waive him. Like why would we give you anything of value in a trade for PJ Tucker? Or now if the Clippers want to start talking about, hey, we'll give you a pick to take his salary, probably a second rounder because he only makes like 11 million. Yeah, then okay, then that might change. But yeah, I don't like that one just kind of made me laugh a little bit. I mean, I get it, but I don't think anything's going there. And then I thought this was interesting. Tim Bontemps and Brian Windhorst combined for like a little notebook on ESPN. I don't know if that's going to be a regular thing. I kind of hope it is. One of the things they talked about in there was the Rockets and Jaylen Green and Alperen Şengün's extensions. Their willingness to extend those guys actually went all the way back to earlier in the summer when Donovan Mitchell and Derek White signed their extensions with their teams, the Cavs and the Celtics, respectively. That's when they said, all right, we're not getting them. Let's just kind of we won't go the cap space route. We'll bring the band together. So that I thought was interesting that's, kind of who they were targeting was Mitchell or White, who I think both would have been fantastic fits with that Rockets team.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they got the deal done and there's belief around the league that the Jaylen Green contract could wind up being the backbone of a superstar trade as early as next summer. That could be a thing. Obviously, it's not going to happen this season, but during the summer when he's a bit easier to trade without the whole poison pill situation.
Let's put that right here too, just because I think it's really important. All of these guys who just signed extensions, some of them, the veteran guys, are not even trade eligible before the trade deadline, so they're completely off the board. But a lot of these other guys, they are they're not it's not that Jaylen Green can't be traded. He could be traded, but it's just extremely hard with the poison pill. So just kind of put that out of your mind if anybody's wondering, like, wonder if Jaylen Green will get moved. It's just very, very hard to trade a guy like him now. And that was also said in the article. They're like, this is not a right now thing. This is a starting July 1 and beyond. So just that I feel like that's good to emphasize a little bit.
Absolutely. Keith, I guess we got to talk about it too. The Kawhi lawsuit thing?
Clawsuit?
The Clawsuit? Ooh, because his nickname is the
That
Claw.
wasn't
anyway.
mine. I saw
it.
that somewhere. I did not call it.
Okay. But still, I mean, that's pretty good. I hadn't seen it yet, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. I can bring 2 aprons and a bike helmet as a hard cap, but that's the extent of my cleverness.
So, I mean, this, I wouldn't want to jump to conclusions on any of it, but there's some pretty big time allegations here that could I mean, both in terms of the Clippers mismanaging or outright being negligent in regarding Kawhi's injury situation. And then, I mean, tampering to the nth degree, right, when it comes to actually seeking people out to discuss Kawhi's medical situation and things like that, while he was with the Toronto Raptors and all kinds of things that they were doing. And again, all of this is just alleged. We have to remember there's two sides to every story. And I'm sure there's bias coming from a disgruntled ex-Clippers employee that isn't happy that he got fired. Like there's another side to this. The Clippers have vehemently denied any of it, saying this is all not true. But I mean, this is something now we're gonna have to keep an eye on. And this, I mean, if some of this stuff turns out to be true, I'm sure the NBA will let the whole process kind of play out. But if this stuff is factual, the NBA could have some repercussions here for the Clippers.
100%. The league came out today. It sounds like they gave kind of like a mass response to a bunch of people who were asking the league office about this. And they said, we're reviewing the documents of the lawsuit. Basically, just, yeah, we know it's out there. We're looking into it. They're not going to comment further than that. No. They will never comment on ongoing litigation anyway. So, but yeah, if any level of this is proven, none of this is good, right? All of this is bad. We're gonna look back on this Kawhi Leonard tenure with the Clippers and be like, man, what a crazy what if, right? Like, because just never. It's just at this point, it's very clear it's never gonna happen the way anybody wanted it to happen. It's gone completely sideways. But yeah, we may see more ramifications come out on this later.
What would the precedent be if it turns out that, let's say everything's true in terms of what happened with, I mean, not just the injury front, but the tampering?
Yeah.
What does the NBA do? I think this would actually be, when I said, what's the precedent? This would be somewhat unprecedented. I think back to the Joe Smith situation, but even that's different than what would have happened here. Like this, I don't even know how the NBA would respond to this.
Yeah, I think the tampering part, we do have evidence, right? They'll take away a pick or two, and if they feel like they need to, that's one thing. It's the injury part, and like if any of this is ever proven that like they grossly mismanaged his injury situation, that's going to turn into, I don't know what the league would do there. I mean, maybe they'd levy fines against the Clippers or, the individuals involved. I really don't know where that goes because, to your point, it is, completely unprecedented. We don't know. So I really don't know where that would go. The tampering part, that part, it's a little more cut.
It'd be draft capital or something like that. And then if you're going to find them though for, anything else that's going on, that's the problem. This is part of why the whole CBA was changed to diminish a team's ability to put a roster together rather than punish them financially for spending more money, because Steve Ballmer has infinity money. So how does it matter if you I mean, so there's that side of it too. So we'll see. Yeah, as the chat says, fines won't hurt Ballmer. That's it. I mean, he's impervious to fines. 100%. So what happens there?
Al Sem says, could Keith give some insight on how that would work with the picks they owe OKC and Philly and swaps and all that? I doubt it would get to the point of a first round pick because we haven't seen that. So what it would likely be is second round picks, and it would likely end up being phrased as first available pick. That's what they did with I think it was Miami had an issue where it had to be delayed a couple years because they didn't have a second round pick to give up. That was in the Kyle Lowry tampering. And I think the Bulls were in the same boat. They may have had. So it turns into first available pick to be taken away. Like Philly had one taken away. That wasn't even their pick last year as a pick they'd gotten from Denver, I think, ultimately. I think it was the Nuggets pick. Through some series of trades, but it got taken away because that was the first allowable pick. Or first available pick, I should say. That could be taken away.
And I mean, if the question is how that would work with the picks they owe, they're not going to damage another. It's not like they're going to remove a pick that they owe, 100%. And then they're not going to damage another team.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, all right, you don't have a pick that's available for us to take away from you till 2032.
Cool,
Great.
We'll take that
and
one.
It's 2032. That's the one we'll take. Yeah, you certainly don't. Yeah, you're not going to hurt another team with that. So, yeah, we'll see. Where that goes. With that. So, we also have another investigation going on that the leagues involved in with Joel Embiid.
Yep.
I don't think we've talked about this yet. So, player participation policy says if you're not injured, you need to play. And there's two, seems like subsequent reporting now is there's two parts that they're looking at. Part one is the whole I'm never playing back to backs again.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
league's like, wait, you can't already be telling people you're not playing, even if those ones like, I'll kind of know. Like I like that part I'm not too worried about. It's more of the why are you not playing right now? Because the team says you're not injured. Why are you not playing? Like that's what are we doing? Like where are we at with that? And again, they're just gonna get hit with a fine. Like, be okay. And you know what? Philly will say, fine us 100K or whatever. And if he's healthy in April, May, and June, then we'll pay that fine 6 more times this year. Like it doesn't, we don't care. Like it's more important that we get him there healthy. But that situation is so weird. Like I just don't. And then Philly came out and said no Embiid through the weekend, no Paul George through the weekend. So they've got Toronto and then tonight, and then I forget it's an afternoon game Sunday. So not going to have either guy for through the weekend. Maybe Wednesday. They have a very light week next week. It's Wednesday and I think Saturday. There are only 2 games, so we'll see.
Hopefully they get him back, as soon as possible. Like the reporting was that he's been great in practice and stuff, and he's looking good. So it's weird.
I I don't know, man. So somebody's not telling the truth somewhere with this situation.
It's Clippers vibes with this. Like it feels like that. It feels like we're bubble wrapping this guy, and we'll talk to you in the playoffs. But that it didn't work for the Clippers. So
no.
I don't know. And the NBA is not going to be happy with this.
I was listening to the Hoop Collective too, and they brought up, and I know this was like in the early run of our show, and we were like, what is happening here? When they were like, Kawhi had a torn ACL, and they were listing him as questionable and saying maybe he'll play. And I get that was playoff gamesmanship, but it's like, what are we doing?
Right.
And that's where I don't want to make this whole thing about gambling, but the league's now fully in bed with these gambling companies. And you're going to run into, hey, you can't be completely, playing games on the injury report. And that's going to be where the billions they're getting from the gambling companies, they're going to be saying to the league, hey, Team X is lying on their injury report and it's costing us, X, Y, and Z here. We're giving you billions of dollars. Let's make this work better. And, from that side, I guess we benefit if the injury reports are more straightforward and more honest. But yeah, it's just that gets super weird, man. There's a lot of stuff. So yeah, I really don't know what to make of this Embiid situation.
And that's where, we see it in the NFL where teams get in trouble if they don't properly designate a player on the injury report. I think the same thing is going to be more commonplace. We do still see it happen, but gone are the days of DNP old, the infamous designation from the Spurs. You can't do that stuff anymore. You've got to be on it with your injury reports and your reporting and all that. At the NFL level, they even put out an estimated injury report. For we didn't practice today, but if we did practice, this is what our designations would be. This guy would not have practiced. This guy would have. It gets, but again, because it is all tied in with gambling and all that kind of stuff does matter. So I think it's coming. I think that there's going to be more of a crackdown on teams, making sure that they're honest. And it's gotten better, but still, how many times, Keith, over the years did we see, especially, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, did we see random vague injury player pops up, late in the season and they're suddenly not playing and, it's all kind of BS. I think that kind of stuff's going to get eliminated.
Yeah. Lower back soreness used to be there.
Yes, that's it.
Or, what was it? It was, they would say flu-like symptoms. That was the other one. They used to come up a lot. And then I think COVID kind of was like, let's not play with the illness.
Let's not do that anymore.
that got a little weird, but it's the flu-like symptoms and lower back soreness is those are getting fewer and further between now. But what we are seeing teams do now too is if it is they're just much more open and blatant about, oh, this guy is an ankle thing that we could take care of in April when the season ends. We're not going anywhere. Let's just take care of it in March and be done.
Which great.
It's great until it's like we're rolling out a bunch of dudes who will never be on this team for the
Sure.
last 10 home games of the year. That's part gets a little weird there. But I said this about the Wizards last night. The Wizards are so refreshingly honest with all this, right? The GM came out, said as training camp was starting, we're still in deconstruction phase for this rebuild. Like we're still tearing this roster down. We're not done yet with that part of it. Then you flip to opening night. They started. Did you? I don't know if you saw this. Did you see their average age last night against Celtics?
I did not. I didn't see the average age. No.
22.7 years old.
Whew.
It's like one of the youngest starting groups we've seen like on an opening night ever. And they started 2 rookies, Bub Carrington and Alex Sarr. Both started. Valanciunas did not start. He came off the bench. Sarr started at the 5, and they really just played with their kids. Keyshawn George played quite a bit off the bench as well. Bilal Coulibaly looked really good. By the way, played really, really well. So I think the fact that you've also got the coach being like, I'm going to play the kids, like, good. Like, be honest. Your fans aren't stupid. They'll, now, will it translate to them buying tickets and going to games? That's where it can get a little rough, but fans aren't dumb. They'll appreciate it if you're upfront and like, hey, we're rebuilding. It is what it is.
And that's, I think, the antiquated notion that fan base X will not tolerate a rebuild. It's not a thing anymore. Fans get what teams are going for. I see fans all the time that want their team to rebuild, that want to bring in young talent and build for the future and all of that. When Philly did it and Philly fans were on board with the process and all of that, if you could do it in Philly, you can do it anywhere, and fans are smart enough to realize what you're doing. The whole, this fan base will never tolerate a rebuild. That's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, won't tolerate like a 10-year rebuild, sure. Like nobody
sure.
should have to.
What fans won't tolerate is no direction. Yeah. Is no direction, and you're stuck in the middle, and you're just kind of a treadmill team. That's what fans, and that's what Chicago was dealing with for so long. 100%. That's what fans won't tolerate.
Yeah. 2 things. One, our guy Jovian Morales, like spike, let's go. Yeah, get the likes up on the video. That is that's what we need. That helps us quite a bit with that. And then the second thing I'll just say to kind of close out this topic, I had a bunch of Wizards fans reply to that tweet by me with like, yeah, I'm so happy we have a direction, and I'm all in on watching the kids all year long.
Exactly.
Again, is that going to translate to I bought tickets to go watch them in person, or I stayed home? But that's until all of a sudden NBA arenas have like 6 people sitting in them. And trust me, I've watched a lot of horrid Orlando Magic teams in the past. At the end of the season, there was a game where it was like me and Phil Rossman Reich from Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic watching Jody Meeks with, it felt like 50 of our closest friends in the building. But even then, they still had sold, I don't know, 10, 12,000 tickets, whatever it was. Like they were still, there's still quite a few people there. But Jody Meeks that night had 20 points in a quarter that one night there. Yeah.
Jody,
so that was a
former Laker.
Shout out Jody Meeks. Didn't think he'd come up today, did you?
Right. Yeah. Right. That's a deep cut. Cade said, thoughts on player fans. Were you ever one? Are they annoying? I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody how to be a fan. Like be a fan, however you want to be. It's not the lens that I look at the league through.
Yep.
I think sometimes this is true of team first fans too, but it applies to the team. But I see a lot of player fans who, in order to deflect any criticism from the player they like, they take shots at the other players around them. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of that. No, it's not my guy's fault. It's this guy. These guys all suck. They're the problem, not my guy. And I think you have to be willing to accept blame in a lot of different places and things of that nature. But otherwise, I mean, hey, if you want to be a player fan, be a player fan. It's not how I grew up. It's not the lens that I look at things through. But if that's how you enjoy the game, right? That's all that matters.
Yeah, for me, I've come around fully on basketball is a great game. It's amazing. It's the best. However you want to consume it and enjoy it is great. The one thing I'll say is don't be super reactionary to stuff like that's because that just gets I don't know how you live like that way on a roller coaster like that all the time. But yeah, if you like players and you want to root for players, sometimes I think those people enjoy it way more than other people do because they don't live and die with every loss. Like sometimes you do when you're a fan of a team, and then the team side of it. Yeah, clearly I'm never gonna feel bad for someone who wants to really root for a team. And then on the were you ever annoying? With it, like, yeah, I'm sure I'm annoying with it now. Like it's that's just a matter of perspective, because I had somebody the other day, like, why are you tweeting so much about Celtics Wizards? And I was like, because it's the only game on right now. And then two, I'm like, because I'm always going to tweet a lot about the Celtics. It's never going to go away. But yeah, I mean, but that's just a matter of perspective. Like it's, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, like with the NFL, I'm not a fan of any particular NFL team. I'm a fan. I'm annoyed. My wife gets annoyed because I'll walk out of the room for a minute and she'll be like, "Oh, this team scored," and I'll say, "Okay, but who scored?
Yeah,
who scored the touchdown?"
Yeah,
She's like, "I don't know. I don't know who it
yeah.
was," but I'm like, "Well, that's what I need to know." But I'm a fan of the guys that are on my fantasy team. But
Yep.
you know what? Like a bad play happens at the end or whatever. It doesn't, and a team loses. It doesn't crush my night or anything. It's more devastating if it happens to my fantasy team than anything else, but it allows me if there's a great game, I can just enjoy the great game. So there's some appeal to it as well, and not, live and die with the end result of the game, who won, who lost. I'm not as concerned with that.
No, 100%. I'm a little nervous here. This guy Smokey here is I don't know if he's stalking me or what, because I wear shorts and slides almost all the time. Like that's yeah, there's rarely I said one of the things I love most about covering the NBA full time is I don't ever have to wear pants anymore. I can wear shorts every day if I want to. So
I am wearing basketball shorts right now.
Yeah, I pretty much live in basketball shorts.
Yep.
And I wear slides almost all the time, unless I know I'm going to be doing a lot of walking. So yeah, outside in the rain, of course. I'm not getting my real sneakers wet unless I have to.
All right, last one, and then I think I might try to take my wife out for lunch in a little bit here.
We're doing that too.
Are you?
Yeah,
Nice.
Smith family's here. We're because it's a day off from school here. So
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, we're gonna go get some lunch too.
All right, so we've got the Kane says, how do you avoid letting your emotions invade your reporting? I mean, sometimes it just requires taking a step back and looking at things objectively as you can, and just trying not to be too reactionary or anything. I think for me personally, I taught junior high for 13 years. I tend not to overreact to things or whatever. So that's just part of my personality. But I mean, there's always, and I say this all the time, I am biased. Right? Like if I'm talking about the Lakers, my own bias is going to creep in. That's going to happen. There's no, avoiding that. It's just the way that it's going to be. But I try to be as forthcoming and honest about it as I can, and try to recognize where that does come into play and where it affects, the way that I look at things.
Yeah, the team part of it, 100%. I think it's helped a little bit stepping away from covering the Celtics in some respects, but then it's also hurt because I felt much more like a fan last year, not covering the team day to day. It's hard to be a fan and cover the team day to day sometimes. Part of it is you start to build a rapport and a relationship with the people involved, and that can be a little hard to get past. The very best beat writers are the ones who can turn that on and off and have no issues and do it really well. For me, so much of my coverage is based around transactions and roster and the salary cap. There's a lot why I'm very fond of saying it's just math. Like I don't like when people get mad at me about saying this trade doesn't work. Well, it doesn't. It's math. It's the rules. Like I'm just that part, it becomes very easy to be very unemotional. It's funny. When I used to write for Celtics blog all the time, they used to tease me because there's two Keiths who write for us. The one who writes about the team, sometimes with a lot of passion and fandom and those things that invade it. Then there's the Keith who is completely unemotional transaction robot who writes about this is what they can't do and this is what's happening from that. And that part has always been very easy for me. When I am reporting transactional details, I can tell you there's no emotion involved.
Yeah.
Like
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. I'm just telling you what if I'm telling you a player signed this kind of contract, or every once in a while, it's usually very small news. But if I get news to break myself, I'm just telling you what's happening. I don't there's no emotion involved there beyond I feel proud to be putting out accurate information in the world. It's but it can be tough. I'm not gonna lie. It can be really hard at
Sure.
times to turn that stuff off. It can definitely be like tricky. But yeah, there's times when you have to though. If you can't step away and do it, and it's part of what like I love too about doing this show and covering the league as a whole is on the nights when there isn't that, there's the next one. You just move to the next game. Like in that part, always fun. I mean, I mean this with all sincerity when I say this. People think I'm not like this is my favorite thing in the world. So it's like it's very easy for me to move on to okay, what's the next game, and I just move on. Like I just I turn off the one game and move to the next one, and because there's something else new to learn, something else new to enjoy and have fun with. So it's that's where it is.
That's right. That's right. That's right where I'm at. And I think that's a pretty good place for us to wrap up here. Got some big games coming up tonight. We've got the World Series tonight, all kinds of stuff going on. If anything breaks over the weekend, we'll jump back on and we'll discuss it. But I want to thank everybody for joining. If you haven't subscribed yet to the YouTube channel, please make sure you do so. Hit that subscribe button. Help us with that push to 35,000 subscribers. Thank you again, everybody. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.